This is the world according to Jen and Carolyn.
Hey everybody.
What's that?
All right. So today we're going to be talking about everyone's favorite sci-fi cult masquerading as a religion, Scientology.
Boo.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise, come get me.
I think you can tell right off the bat how we feel about Scientology and Tom Cruise. So from their weird ass terminology to their practices of tearing families apart, we're going to be taking a look at this strange organization and try to answer the question, why does Scientology have so many celebrity members? Because I didn't get it until I started looking into it, but then it made a ton of sense. But yeah,
It's a lot of celebrities.
There are a lot of celebrities.
More than Kabbalah.
Yeah, that's true.
An actual religion.
Right?
Philosophy.
All I know is there's a red string bracelet and Madonna has a Kabbalah name.
I love
Esther.
it. Oh, cool.
Esther.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
She does.
We're going to try to mention Madonna in every episode because we love her.
Like Jerry Springer.
Yes. Yeah. Final thoughts, Kabbalah, the whole deal. So, Carolyn, what comes to mind when you think about Scientology?
This is really terrible, Jen. So there was this girl that lived on our street. And I remember her name was Anne Marie. And my parents wouldn't let us play with her because they were Christian Science.
Oh.
And I didn't really know what that meant. But both my parents were, my mom was a nurse, my dad was a physician. And my mom said, well, they don't believe in medicine and vaccines, and I don't want you to get sick.
Oh, that's smart.
So you can't play with her.
Yeah.
Which sounds kind of fucked up.
No, it makes a total, as an adult, especially an adult with a child, I'm like, I get it.
She seemed really cool though, and she's very quiet. And it was very weird. Like mom would be like, they're Christian scientists. Like it was, and then remember those weird '80s commercials about the Church of Latter-day Saints? I mean, I know
that was different,
that's
but
different,
yes.
but
who broke my window? Tell me the truth isn't gonna be easy. Yeah, that's the Church of. Wait, what are those? Those are the Mormons.
Mormons,
yeah.
So we were just, but I'm not very nice to her.
We're going to shit on every religion that isn't one of the big three today,
Seriously.
folks.
So we weren't allowed to play with her. And then, of course, I think of Tom Cruise and the epic couch, well, that was his, Katie Holmes, weird thing. But, Tom, the celebrities. I got deep into documentaries, though, about Scientology during the pandemic.
But Christian Science is not Scientology. They're two different things.
Oh, really?
I think so.
I don't know.
They are.
Oh, damn it.
I'm almost positive.
Look this shit up.
Look it up. But that's funny that's your association. I love it. Christian Science, I don't think is super legit either. I think they're two different. No, that's not Mormonism. Christian Science isn't Mormonism. It's something else.
I'll have to look this shit up. Well, I don't know what she was, but she didn't get vaccines. We were not allowed to play with her.
That's okay. That makes total sense.
Okay. So yeah. That's my, but anyway, I just want to get on the record. Anything that is dominating other people and seeking false sense of clarity, I'm against.
Yep, totally. And quite honestly, I don't want to feel like we're being more critical of some religions, quote unquote, over others. I think that anytime you have the elements that sociology has, not sociology, sorry, Scientology. I love sociology, Scientology, which we're going to go into. Any religion or adaptation of a religion that either outwardly purports these values or practices these things clandestinely, should be condemned.
I think so. Not down for anyone's lack of choice.
Right. Yeah.
and limiting their education and telling them false things.
Exactly. So our disdain is not relegated totally to Scientology, but for this episode, we're focusing on Scientology. So I'm going to tell you what I think about when I think about Scientology. So when I graduated or was on the cusp of graduating from my bachelor's degree, I thought I wanted to go to law school.
That's right.
I took my LSATs, the whole deal, and I was like, I really want a job where I'm doing something associated with the legal profession.
You would have been a great lawyer.
I really wish I had done it, but whatever. This is where I am.
Maybe when you're 50.
Yeah. Here I am. I'm a civil servant and a podcaster, and that's all I am. But I'm happy. So I interviewed with this place. They were they did dictation. They provided dictation for what the fuck is it called? I can't remember. But when you like go into a room and you like talk about what happened to you for the purpose.
Court reporting?
Yeah, not court reporting. It's like God, why can't I think? It'll come to me.
Okay.
I've been drinking. And so I was like, oh, this sounds really good. I'm like, this is a really good way to get my feet wet into the legal profession. And I was about to go to this interview. It was the day before, and they emailed me this document. And at the top of the document, it was like, we practice L. Ron Hubbard's theory of management. I was like maybe 23 at the time. I knew who L. Ron Hubbard was. I knew what Scientology was. I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to go. So I went places in downtown San Francisco. There were like posters on the wall, like hang in there, like motivational posters, hang in there with like a kitten hanging on a branch kind of thing.
Was this in North Beach?
No, but there's a big Scientology church in North Beach, or a Scientology center.
I remember being drunk and walking by that.
Yes, you're on the right track. Yeah, they are established firmly in North Beach. But anyway, I go in, I do this interview. It starts with like a spatial test with like blocks and shit on this bitch's desk, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Apparently I did okay with that.
Or square.
Yeah.
Squiggle.
I'm like, I don't know what any of this means. Part of me is doing this because I'm like, I want to find out where this is going. This is fascinating. And so from there, she's like, okay, great. Like, apparently I passed the first test. Then she puts me in a room with this like middle-aged, sweaty motherfucker and gives us a test. And it's like this multiple choice test, and it's all like math and science. And she's like a basic like intellect test. Okay. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I suck at standardized tests. I should have walked out and been like, this is some weird shit, but I stayed.
Now you're curious. I don't think I know this story.
I stayed. And of course they didn't call me back because I suck at standardized tests. I probably, did a terrible job. But yeah, that was my like brush with Scientology. Isn't that crazy?
I never knew
Don't you love learning new things about me?
I do. I never knew that. Or if I did, I blocked it out. I don't know. That's interesting.
Crazy, right?
So I guess you didn't get the job.
I didn't get the job. No, which is definitely
Jen
good.
would be on a spaceship right now.
Yeah, I would.
The Atlantic Ocean.
I'd be in Sea Org, bro. Like auditing myself and like getting my Thetan level up or some shit.
Oh my god.
Yeah, cool. We're gonna get more into that. Yeah, we're gonna get you some more terminology that you can use to impress your friends and freak people out. So in true Jen and Carolyn form, we're gonna start with the whack ass history of this problematic cult. I refuse to call it a religion, and well, heretofore, bitch. Again, I've been drinking. I'm going to refer to this as a cult. I cannot.
100%.
I cannot dignify it with the term religion. Yes. So this is from a History Channel article. So let's start with L. Ron Hubbard, the man, the myth, the psychopath, born in Nebraska in 1911.
He was most likely, Jen, a victim of paranoid schizophrenia.
Oh, that makes sense. Thank you for correcting me. He also had really long, creepy fingernails.
Totally.
I don't know what the fuck that shit was.
He kept hoarded his fingernails and his urine and his hair. He didn't want to throw anything away.
Sweet.
I know.
That's very strange.
Weird.
So, yeah. So in addition to that, he was born in Nebraska in 1911, and he developed the framework for Scientology while serving in World War II. He served in the U.S. Naval Reserves, and he later claimed to have healed himself of several serious war-related ailments using the techniques he explained in his 1950 book, Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health. Have you seen the Dianetics movie with John Travolta?
And they say it's the worst movie of all time.
We need to watch it.
Get really high. Oh, did you know he faked his way into the Naval Academy?
No.
Yes. He was not very good at school, probably because of some of his mental health issues, which isn't funny.
His long fingernails, he couldn't grip a pencil.
But he was denied acceptance a bunch of times, and then he got letterhead of some senator or something like that, and wrote in, and it's like, damn it, the Navy doesn't fact check.
White people, man.
I know, right?
They get away with everything.
And he lied to the Navy. They documented a bunch of times that he showed narcissism, antisocial personalities. Nobody liked him. Nobody wanted to work with him. But he stayed in the Navy, and he even there was some weird, obscure story I found where he found some he accidentally got in some weird magnetic field in a submarine and thought he was fighting aliens.
Yes!
It's how what the fuck was going on in the goddamn Navy?
He's like a dude on Marcus athlete, and somehow he created this religion people with millions of dollars. But it's just,
it's like one of those things where it's like, this was documented. This guy was a problem and needed psychiatric help, and they were like, here's a submarine, dude, like go off and do things.
Oh man,
he's very fascinating.
Oh my god. So let's get into some of the foundations and like bases for what became Scientology. So as he laid out in Dianetics, each human individual has an analytical mind, which, like Freud's concept of the conscious mind, is normally in charge of making the daily decisions and judgments necessary for survival.
I agree with that.
Cool. That part's
tracks.
Cool.
Yeah.
In times of stress, pain, or other trauma, however, it is the reactive mind, similar to the Freudian subconscious, also makes sense, that takes over. According to Hubbard's mental science, the lasting scars from those negative experiences on the reactive mind are known as engrams. To get rid of, I'm gonna like really spice this up with my with my emphasis.
Go in here.
Yeah.
Well, I don't disagree with that. He's kind of tracking, and that's not wrong.
Here's where it gets weird. To get rid of these engrams, Hubbard prescribed a new type of therapeutic process called auditing. In one-on-one meetings with a counselor or auditor, an individual would answer a series of questions designed to purge these unconscious memories and allow the analytical mind to regain control. Cool.
Because it's that easy, right?
It's that easy, right? Yeah. I mean, I need to audit myself, bro.
And then I'm going to clear.
Yeah.
And then I could like
I'm a computer.
I'm a computer.
Yeah.
I'm going to shift. And now I'm going to have the perfect memory.
I'm going to clear my cache, my cookies, my browser history of my brain. It's going to work. So how did some crazy ass book give birth to a religion? Can you hear the air quotes? In 1952, Hubbard introduced a new aspect of the auditing process, a device he called the electropsychometer or E-meter, which measures the strength of small electrical current that runs through the body as an individual answers the auditor's questions. The introduction of the E-meter helped mark Hubbard's transition from Dianetics to Scientology, a term he said derived from the Latin "scio," I think that's what it is, study, and Greek logos, knowing. The new science of knowledge employed the principles of Dianetics. Yeah.
How original.
Very cool. Let's rely on the Greeks in a different framework. Rather than an approach to mental health, Hubbard's ideas would now become the basis for a new religious movement. So, that was in 1952. 1954, Scientology becomes a religion. 1967, the IRS is like, fuck you, and strips Scientology of its tax-exempt status.
Because they were making so much money.
Yeah. We're not going to go into the reasons why. Look that up yourself. But you're like, wow, this is some shady-ass shit. So, in August of 1967, the Sea Organization, or Sea Org, officially established.
Names sound like a 12-year-old boy.
It's so bad. I
picture them all having like those little sailor caps.
They do. They wear like the white uniforms and shit. They look like they're in the Navy.
Doesn't sound like he's cleared his Navy trauma.
No, definitely not. So what is the Sea Org, you may be asking? According to Hubbard, Sea Org's mission is an exploration into both time and space. Sea Org members act as goodwill representatives and administrators of Scientology. All policy and administrative posts in the church's key organizations are held by Sea Org members. And child labor, we're going to get into that too. That part's fun. So in February of 1970, the Church of Scientology Celebrity Center in Los Angeles is founded. This is important, guys. January 1986, Hubbard died after suffering a stroke at his ranch near San Luis Obispo if you're white.
Slow.
Yeah. Slow. October of 1993, the IRS settles its 40-year battle with Scientology, recognizing it as a tax-exempt church.
That was fucking weird.
Yeah.
Do you know he married a lot of like 18, 19-year-olds? He had multiple wives and shit.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of these guys use religion or their cult or whatever you want to call it as a front to do their own freaky fucking
bullshit. He tried to like
bullshit.
kidnap his wife and like get her like psychiatrically held.
Oh my God.
Weird.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I've seen video.
He was sick.
Yeah, he was
Which
sick.
he really is.
He was mentally ill. Yep.
Truly.
Yep. He needed psychology more than anyone. He shouldn't have condemned it. So this is where it gets fun, guys. It's been fun, but this is more fun. 2005, Tom Cruise drew attention to his Scientology beliefs in a combative interview about antidepressant drugs and psychiatry with Today's Show host Matt Lauer. Matt Lauer's problematic too.
I know.
Oh my God.
Did he use his like door thing?
His
like,
button to close the door and like trap you in his office? Ugh, Matt Lauer. Ew, boo. Okay. But beyond that, this was an incredible interview. Psychiatry is a pseudoscience, Cruise told Lauer, saying, "You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do. As Scientologist, Cruise doesn't believe in the use of drugs or therapy. Clearly. Scientologists publicly oppose the study and application of psychology." 2005 as well. Every church org maintains an office set aside for Hubbard in perpetuity. This is L. Ron's chair. Mm-hmm. Leave space for him. Oh, he's there. Alleging a variety of complaints, including. Oh wait. Sorry, I jumped ahead. I got excited. So in perpetuity, set out to imitate those he used in life, and will typically also have busts of him on display. Creepy. What? Okay, in 2009, this is where the shit starts to come to the surface. A number of women have sued the Church of Scientology, alleging a variety of complaints, including human trafficking, rape, forced labor, and child abuse. In 2009, Mark and Claire Headley sued the Church of Scientology, alleging human trafficking. They're not the only ones. So in 2016, our girl, actor Leah Remini put out a documentary. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
Watch it.
Really activating.
It's very activating. Called Scientology in the Aftermath, that investigates the Church of Scientology, which she was a member of 4 years, through the experiences of actress Leah Remini and other former members. Remini said that she hoped to shed light on information that makes the world aware of what is really going on and encourages others to speak up so the abuses can be ended forever. I hope that people who have left now feel they have a safe place to go. I hope others who have also experienced abuses will come forward and help us do something about it, she said. Mm. So currently there are 40,000 members worldwide. So Carolyn, I call this shit a cult. Mm-hmm. Cult or religion? Mm-hmm. Is there a psychology of this kind of membership?
Oh, no, this is definitely a cult, and it's definitely a scam, and sorry, not sorry. Faith, to me, is between you and who or what you believe in.
Right.
And whatever that is divine. I don't think that can be monetized. I don't think that can be sold. I think that's just something between you and yourself.
Yeah.
Religion, to me, has always felt man-made, and I think it is man-made, and therefore it's open to bias, manipulation, power, dynamics, all the things that make humans kind of fucked up.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? And that's, again, that's not all religions, mm-hmm. but anytime you go into an extremist place, everything in moderation, including moderation, right?
Yeah.
So I think faith and religion can be beautiful things, amazing ways to survive, and amazing ways to make sense of life on earth, which is pretty much kind of shitty sometimes, right? And I also am in not way wishing to bring any judgment onto someone that holds anything sacred in their belief. But with that disclaimer made, that's fucking not what we're talking about here, Jen.
This is hurting other people.
And I think anytime you bring children into something, and actually this is a problem I do have with a lot of religions, and asking kids to commit to things and not commit to things when they're not really at an age of reason. A dear friend of ours used to say, well, I was Catholic till the age of reason. And I'm like, I kind of can understand that. So Michael Lagone is a PhD, a counseling psychologist, got his doctorate from UC Santa Barbara. Woo, go. Woo! Gauchos.
Is that what they are? The Gauchos?
They're the Gauchos. So I actually saw his name. He's a professor that really researches cults.
Okay.
So anytime you read anything about cults, you'll know it's good if you see Michael Lagone's name in there.
Okay.
So a cult is defined as a close-knit circle, a secretive organization, and they typically recruit members through false premises and in most cases promise of salvation, and often a religious salvation. Not always. But there's always the catch, and I think that's what I see a lot that's interesting about Scientology. Not all cults are religious, but most members ask them to subscribe to a particular belief system. There's often an isolation of the individual individuals, not permitting them to deviate from members outside that group.
Yep.
And there's also a heavy price, your shund, when you leave. And it's very traumatic, and you're even sort of, I'm going to use the word kind of threatened and coerced to have a fear of the outside as they're not going to accept you. And again, given our reactions to all, and I would never say this to a person, a victim of Scientology, but I'm sure as fuck going to talk about it to the organization and anyone who's kind of in a leadership role there. So, so again, this is open to interpretation. But most cults, often you'll see a leader that's very charismatic. They're usually self-appointed, and the members have to obey them without question. Yeah. That scares me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They often have a totalitarian society, and they often tend to exhibit the following traits. So manipulation, coercion, dislike, distrust, and anyone who's on the outside of your belief. Like, if you don't believe this, you're wrong and you're terrible. A claim to offer a path to salvation, and often possess a unique power, which I think is kind of, so they're prophet-like. Again, that's when we're getting to them.
I'm L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah.
I can heal myself.
And again,
with my own pee.
There's discouragement and punishment for doubt or dissent. And just, again, no one's going to punish you if you leave the Catholic Church. Yeah. They might say you're not going to go to heaven, which for some people could be very scary. But, and like these are sort of some of the things he says make sense. Yeah. I could see how someone in a traumatic place could go, well, and it probably actually kind of works psychosomatically. I agree. If you have thoughts and beliefs that are traumatically based, if you talk about them, you're sitting in a room with someone, you're focusing on it, you're breathing. Yeah. The electric pulse, I don't know. Again, that could do something, or relax.
My e-meter. I'm hooked up to this e-meter, bro.
You look at like EMDR. Yeah. And it's, if you talk about it, it's like, hey, let me have you hold these two pulsating things that give you bilateral stimulation while you talk about your trauma with me. However,
there's enough legitimate shit to
it's research based. Yeah. It's not just white people.
Right.
You're also sitting, the reason why originally he started off in saying these are mental health resources. This is counseling. Yeah. And then he went, oh, you have to actually have like ethics and legality around that. Nope, don't want to do that. Right. And so that's the difference that and again, do things happen in psychology that shouldn't? Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Because they're shitty people and everyone's dealing with humans. But this is not what we're talking about. Right. This is systematically brainwashing people to believe also that they have to reach levels of clear.
And they have to buy things to get there.
And you have to, and it's monetized. That's usually where you catch me, where I'm all into joining the gym, and then we're like, well, if you buy this, I'm like, nope, I'm out.
Totally.
I'll just go for a walk at home and hold 2 soup cans.
Totally. Oh, you told me how to hack this. Like, I'm done. Yeah. I'm cheap, bitch.
So that's where I find it problematic. And
I get that.
I think it's kind of ironic too that it's usually, and we'll talk about the stats too, it's usually educated Caucasian people.
That makes sense. So I want to, because you indicted,
white people are dumb.
Yeah, this is true. Because you indicted your Christian Science neighbor, I just wanted to do a brief circle back. This is from Wikipedia. Christian Science, not to be confused with Christianity and science, Christians in science and technology, or Scientology.
Okay, whoops.
Yeah, it's a set of beliefs and practices. I'm going to go shame my mom later. You really should.
I should apologize to Anne-Marie.
That's so funny. So your mom thought they were Scientologists.
I think so.
Okay. Or just took umbrage with the fact that they didn't vaccinate. Which to me is sufficient grounds when you have children to not hang out with certain people. Yeah, well, we're pro-vaccine on this show.
On that one.
Interesting. All right. Just wanted to clear that up. Didn't want to piss off any Christian scientists. Poor Anne-Marie. Just got raked over the coals.
Play Chinese jump rope with you bitches.
It's cool. And Anne-Marie's in an iron lung somewhere. She's even still alive. So...
God forbid us.
Poor Anne-Marie. So, like I said, we definitely, view Scientology as a scary ass cult. And we're not alone. Many people who can personally speak to these culty ass philosophies, unfortunately, are children, now adults of Scientology. Psychologists call them SGAs, or second generation adults. Out of all of the reprehensible things that this cult has done and it continues to do, we feel that the abuse of children is the worst. Mm-hmm. So let's focus on that for a minute, because I don't think a lot of people know exactly what Scientology is accused of having done to children and accused of continuing to do to children. So, this info is from this awesome Rolling Stone article entitled Children of Scientology, Life After Growing Up in an Alleged Cult, and a Daily Beast article that goes into detail regarding child trafficking. So if this upsets you, which it should, but if it upsets you to the point where you can't listen, turn this off for 5 minutes, guys. Okay. So one SGA quoted in the Rolling Stone article claims that it uses, it being Scientology, the promise of self-improvement to control and abuse its members. They also accuse the Sea Org of being a front for forced labor and surveillance, and criticizes the church for tearing apart families, demanding that parents disconnect from children who oppose the religion. That is fucked. The same SGA that made that claim says that her mother left her at the Cadet Org at the age of 9. The Cadet Org is a church-run boot camp, as she calls it, where her name was Gordon, her last name is Gordon, says she lived with dozens of other neglected and abandoned Scientology kids and one adult. She was stuck taking care of infant babies in the nursery and trying to avoid the parasite outbreaks that flared up in the squalid living conditions. Fucked up. In 2019, 3 people who grew up on a Church of Scientology ship filed a lawsuit against the organization and its current leader, David Miscavige, who's the second leader. After L. Ron died, David took over, claiming they were trafficked as children and forced to do strenuous labor for little or no pay. So we're going to talk about the victims and the things they allege happened to them. So again, brace yourself, skip ahead a few minutes if you need to. So these are the 3 plaintiffs in this particular lawsuit. There's a guy named Gawain, who's a citizen of Australia, was 2 months old when his parents placed him in a nursery run by Cadet Org, a subdivision of Church of Scientology's ultra-rigid Sea Org intended for children. There's a woman named Laura Baxter, who was 7 when her mother signed her up to take Scientology courses in Germany. She now lives with her husband, Gawain. So they met through Scientology, got married, and I'll tell you the rest in a bit. So in addition to neglect and child labor, many SGAs allege sexual abuse perpetrated against them when they were children. There's another woman named Velasca Paris, the 3rd plaintiff in this lawsuit, who was indoctrinated into Scientology from the age of 4 by her parents, both of whom were Scientologists. All 3 allege that they were forced to perform strenuous manual labor as children, most of which was unpaid, including trash removal, landscaping, food prep, and clerical work, sometimes full-time if there were staff shortages, digging trenches, and cleaning toilets and dumpsters. These are fucking children. This is one of my favorites. In 2004, the lawsuit says a celebrity actor celebrated his birthday aboard the Free Winds. It's a ship. At Miscavige's invitation. Tom Cruise, a powerful Scientologist, celebrated his birthday on board Free Winds that year. Was it him? We don't know. Who knows? And Laura Baxter was falsely accused of trying to monopolize the actor's attention. She was ordered to be taken to a small room where 3 IASA officers, no idea, allegedly screamed abusively at her. Her and Gawain were finally permitted. So her and Gawain, I won't go into the whole story, got together at some point when they were older, late teens. Yeah. They were finally permitted to leave Scientology after being pressured for months to terminate their pregnancy because he got her pregnant. They wanted to leave. Scientology does this. So we didn't ordain this relationship. We didn't give you permission to do this. Terminate this pregnancy. They pressured her for months and they're like, we want to have this child. We want to be together. We need to get the fuck off this boat. And finally they let them off. But I'm going to tell you what happens to them. So Paris, she alleges physical and sexual abuse of children was common and that she walked in on, this is awful, on an adult Sea Org member who was responsible for the children masturbating on a boy's bed. Yeah. She also claims that when she was 11, a 27-year-old male Sea Org member ordered her to lie on top of him in her bed because he was hiding from Sea Org staff. She claimed she was punished for reporting both of these encounters to adults. Ugh. All the plaintiffs claim that they have been harassed and followed by Scientology members following their departure from the cult. So when you're out, you're not out. Yeah, it's huge. Leah talks about it in her show. And, Paris specifically said one night, this is so fucked up, you guys, after closing her salon, she opened a salon, she started her life, started her own business. Yay. Yeah. Her salon, which is located in a mall, a man followed her to and from the bathroom yelling at her, "Fuck you. What the fuck are you looking at?" She says vehicles regularly trail her while she drives home at night, often putting on their high beams, and that strangers approach her young children when she takes them to play outside, retreating when she checks on them. What the fuck, dude? So, Carolyn, this really, as a parent, bothers me. But, obviously these poor kids, they were forced into these shitty conditions by their parents. My heart breaks for them. Yeah. Can we talk about what the fuck is up with parents who not only willingly subject their kids to this type of shit, but as we've heard through Scientology, attempt to prevent them from speaking out against the cult?
Yeah. I mean, I think the best thing I can come up I think anyone can come up with, because I don't understand it either. Yeah. And so many things come to mind as I sit here and I listen, and I have my own biases. And again, even when I watch these documentaries, I'm going, man, these people are stupid. They're chumps. What are they doing? How can they let this happen? Which is, again, essentially victim blaming. Yeah. And, I think, again, until you're in something, you can't really say it. Mm-hmm. You can't really say shit, but when I talked about how research shows that the people who tend to be recruited into these cults come from economically sound backgrounds, usually educated, idealistic, and they exhibit above average intelligence. Mm-hmm. So again, this idea that they're being brainwashed is really the only fact that I can draw on how a parent could become so blind. Mm-hmm. And it just goes to show how horrifying brainwashing is. Yeah. And that really is, and I that's probably not even the scientific word, but, you're being manipulated. Yeah. You're being held captive.
It's psychological
abuse. Yeah. And, again, how could a parent get to a point that they wouldn't protect their own? Right. Really shows me how toxic that environment is, and how being so isolated by the cult, think of it the same way that and we'll talk about this later, but when you don't have family, you don't have outsiders, you don't have other people kind of mirroring to you, hey, this isn't okay. Yeah. And you're surrounded by people who you idealize, and they're saying, this is good. This is okay. This blind following, it reminds me of the Milgram experiment. Yes. Which is where people were told to enact electrocution on people, and even though they actually weren't, they would do it because the
authority figure presumed authority figure. Yep.
And the Stanford prison experiment, when you give one person a sense of power, seemingly very passive, kind people can become horrible to one another. So, are you a follower or are you a leader? And I think the whole mindset behind a cult is to break people down, to tell them you're kind of nothing without this. And I think they always start off giving sort of some type of spiritual guidance or some type of help where you do feel indebted to them. Yeah. So, Jen, remember a while ago when we talked about narcissism? Yes. Maybe it's narcissism. Yeah. We talked about a kind of narcissism called communal narcissism, which is often referred to as a wolf in sheep's clothing. Okay. And I think that type of narcissist, we look at L. Ron Hubbard, where originally they thought this guy's narcissistic. Well, actually, he's schizophrenic and he's paranoid and he's sick. Yeah. Look at David Miscavige. Look at people, again, even like Tom Cruise. There's that sense of grandiosity. Yes. There's that sense of, I'm a white man. Right. I can do whatever the fuck I want. A sense of entitlement. Mm-hmm. And, again, it's kind of like active shooters tend to be white males. Yes. I would say predominantly most cults tend to be run by white males. There's only one or two that have females in charge. And even then, there was a patriarchal narcissism going on within those. And so, again, not to say that gives a reason, but it gives you insight into how a parent is being so deeply manipulated and how their sense of self is so fragmented that even probably their children are seen as, well, that's just another barrier. And you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that or that's standing in the way and it's sick and it's disgusting. It's not okay. And you have to remember too, the reason Ron Hubbard put these Sea Orgs onto the sea is to avoid legal
that makes
and
sense.
Licensing and eyes and ears. And even Scientology has created these huge drug rehabs. I think it's called like Narcan or something. Or something.
I have no idea.
Where it's terrible what they're doing. So they're preying on people's vulnerability. And who's the most vulnerable? A child. So you systematically separate them from their parents and you give them an image that, oh, they're going to be fine. They're going to be in this wonderful place. And why wouldn't you believe me?
Right.
So, that's the best answer I can give, that these are sick, mentally unsafe and criminal people. Because that was something interesting about Ron Hubbard, is that sometimes he would seem pretty wacky. And then he would say things like, well, I'm doing this. I have to do the religion because it's how I'm going to make more money.
Interesting.
So they're
there's practicality.
There's practicality. And again, that, this is complex.
A sick practicality.
A sick practicality. So I think, again, when you look at the reasons why people join a cult, there's usually pureness in it. Of, people who join cults have a basic desire to belong to something, to feel protected, to feel secure, and to have a life that has meaning. That's beautiful. But cults that are based on tenets of Christianity can fulfill this longing in some people, and that promise of eternal salvation is going to be this draw that many adults are attracted to. And then you want your children to have that same salvation. So I'm going to, I think they minimize what they see. I think it's the same thing we could look at about why does anyone stay in an abusive relationship? And they're stuck, and then they're easily manipulated, exploited, and you don't have government. You don't have family. Monitoring. You don't have people with licenses and ethics saying, well, this doesn't feel good to me. So that's my best guess. Maybe they're equally sick. I don't know.
And it makes sense too. And I think that so many of us tend to think that folks who join cults can't be very bright. But I remember being struck when, I followed Heaven's Gate when the Heaven's Gate cult, that thing happened when I was in my teenage years. I was like 14 maybe. But, recently I watched a documentary, and the people who joined Heaven's Gate were incredibly intelligent, advanced degrees. And it's so fascinating how if you believe in something enough.
Oh, absolutely.
Any sort of academic prowess, know-how, whatever goes out the window because they're two very different things, right? This inclination to believe something that on the surface may sound beautiful and enlightening, not just for you, but for your children versus what intellectually, if you stop and maybe started to think about this more, you'd be like, this does not make any sense. Like, oh, Hale Bob comment? I'm going to go on a spaceship and fucking in my purple shroud and my Nikes after I eat some poison pudding? What the actual fuck?
And it doesn't start off that way.
No, it doesn't. It definitely doesn't. Cult leaders are very good about working up to the crescendo of, whatever it is. God forbid, it's like a Jim Jones thing where everybody's drinking fucking poison juice.
Well, and cults are nothing.
It wasn't Kool-Aid, guys. It wasn't really Kool-Aid.
It wasn't Kool-Aid.
It was the generic version.
And cults are nothing new either. And organized, secretive organizations are nothing new that are corrupt. But you have to remember, too, that L. Ron Hubbard was riding a wave of New Age anti-psychiatry sentiment. It was right place, right time. It was right place, right time.
It's like the tipping point.
Human potential and things like that. And then it turns a little charlatan-y.
Then, for sure. So, we touched on this briefly. What happens when you try to get out of Scientology? And I think this is where,
dun, dun, dun.
Leah Remini's documentary is amazing because she talks about the repercussions. And, this is from a Bustle article. So even if you leave Scientology, it never quite leaves you. Mm-hmm. In a special Inside Scientology report, the St. Petersburg Times, now known as the Tampa Bay Times, they began a years-long investigation into the church cult in 2009. And the newspaper unearthed numerous accounts of former Scientologists who were allegedly chased, harassed, and even spied on by the church. Former Miscavige confidants, Marty Rothbun and Mike Rinder, claimed they hired private investigators to spy on potential enemies, sometimes for decades. One former member told the newspaper that they had to sign drawn-out affidavits in order to leave. These documents were allegedly intended to discredit them in case they ever spoke out against the church. So this is something that might happen. This is known as disconnection. Disconnection is the severance of all ties between a Scientologist and a friend, colleague, or family member deemed to be antagonistic. And I can't read today. Antagonistic towards Scientology. This practice.
You're never going to get into Scientology.
I know. I'm not smart enough. This is why they wouldn't hire me. The practice of disconnection is a form of shunning. Remini claimed that people who are members of the church are not allowed to speak to people who left the organization. In an exclusive interview with BuzzFeed, she said she left Scientology for her daughter and recounted how longtime friends, some of whom she'd known for decades, were like, no, I ain't going to talk to you. Fuck you. Not talking to you no more. So you might get stalked, which we touched on. This is an example, another gross example of harassment and stalking that involves a celebrity. This is from a Los Angeles magazine article. So 2019, 4 women filed a lawsuit against the Church of Scientology alleging that they were stalked and harassed after they accused church member and actor Danny Masterson of rape. Remember Danny Masterson from that 70s show, Hyde?
Yeah.
Yeah. The lawsuit, which names the church leader David Miscavige and Masterson, accuses the church of stalking, physical invasion of privacy, and conspiracy to obstruct justice, and details instances in which the women say they were followed, harassed online, or worse. One of the women claims her dog died under suspicious circumstances.
God damn it. That's fucked up.
Fuck you, Danny Masterson. So according to the lawsuit, the alleged harassment started after the women reported to the Los Angeles Police Department in 2016 and 2017 that Masterson had raped them in the early 2000s. So one of the women in this case claims that she was chased to her car and that fake Craigslist ads were posted in her name soliciting anal sex. Yeah. And that she was targeted for credit card fraud. She added that when her dog turned up dead, a necropsy revealed traumatic injuries to the dog's trachea and esophagus. Somebody choked the dog, it sounds like. That's awful.
Like the most fucked up thing.
Oh my God. Another woman says that her family was followed and photographed while on vacation. Her 13-year-old's window was smashed in the middle of the night. Someone attempted to sell her food truck and fake online advertisements. It goes on and on.
Wow.
So Danny Masterson was accused and found guilty of drugging women's drinks so he could rape them. Then he relied on his prominence in the Church of Scientology to avoid consequences for years. This is what a prosecutor told jurors in closing arguments for his trial. End result, the first trial, I think, was a mistrial. When he went back to trial, this motherfucker was found guilty of 2 counts of rape. So suck it, Danny Masterson. So Carolyn,
is he in prison?
I think he is, or he's awaiting sentencing, and he could face up to 30 years in prison, which is great. So Carolyn, can you talk to me about the psychological state someone might be in after years of being abused by this cult or any other? We talked about what it's like to leave abusive relationships in the OJ episode.
It's similar.
Yeah, it's very similar.
There's a lot of similarities.
Talk to me about that.
Again, I agree with you on that there's if you look at the cycle of abuse, which we can certainly attach in the show notes, of how these leaders and hierarchy and isolation, it all contributes to a feeling that the individual is not safe on their own and is systematically incapable of having autonomy.
Okay.
And over time, unfortunately, the human brain is very malleable. It's not a computer. It's an organ. It runs off deprivation of reward. And if you're around something long enough, you might start to believe it, especially if there's a threat of violence and coercion that's happening. So I found a great article in The Atlantic from 2018 with stats on the health effects of leaving a cult. And the research is clear. Jen, Scientology and adherence to this kind of cult manipulation has lasting psychological, and I'm even going to say physiological, because there's no difference in the two. And I even think financial effects.
Oh, yeah.
Resulting from these exploitative.
We struggle with that one too.
And abusive.
Scientology doesn't want us.
I'm Jewish. You'll never get me.
That's true.
No one wants us. Anyway, trauma, and PTSD, anxiety, depression, loss of identity, and sense of self, suicide. These are all due to the physical, sexual, financial, and control tactics that we mentioned, which include, Jen, starvation. You control my food intake. You're like, what the fuck? Humiliation, verbal, emotional abuse. Even those who have willingly left a destructive cult, you're also going to experience withdrawal. You're going to have a mind fuck.
Right.
You know, think of it in the same way when we talked about the JC Dugard story.
Yes.
It's not appeasement.
No.
It's not Stockholm syndrome. You don't necessarily fall in love, but you do start to rely on this organization for everything.
Well, it becomes your life.
Yes.
For better or for worse, whether it's toxic, healthy, etc., call it whatever, like, this becomes your reality.
And your sense of belonging. And we know humans need that. And so if you're faced with, and also imagine the embarrassment.
Yeah.
You know, I can attest to being in abusive relationships and being intensely embarrassed.
Yes.
To even go to my friends or go even when I've left and again, these are in no way in comparison, but there is this, what are people going to say?
Yeah.
You know, who am I going to go to?
Right.
Can I even, and I've actually not remained friends with people because they have said things and then I'm too ashamed to then say, well, you were right.
Right.
Basically.
Right.
And so, you know, there's this idea that you're going to really not be okay.
Yeah.
And you're going to experience often insomnia, amnesia, sexual dysfunction, different types of, again, if you're a child dealing with this, I mean,
that's an added layer of complication and sadness.
They're going to say anything that's going to, basically, you're going to have to integrate back into society. You probably were lied to about everything.
Well, if you're a child, this is all you know.
So your whole sense of reality, not that it's any easier for an adult, but for a child, I don't want to say you're fucked, but Jesus Christ. And so again, that's just if you weren't even sexually abused or hypersexualized your whole life. That's often the issue most women and men have. So again, psychologist Michael Lagone, I talked about him before, said there's something called post-cult state floating.
Wow.
In which the former member goes back and forth from cult way of life to non-cult way of life, of viewing the world. They're in a foggy in-between state of consciousness. Like you basically can't trust yourself.
Right.
Because you're being told also by another authority figure, hey, they lied to you. Yeah. But then you were told by that authority figure, well, they're going to lie to you.
You got trust issues. Yeah. Big time.
Just a little. A little. Yeah. So there's something called deprogramming and exit counseling. Think of this like intervention gone wild. And again, this is not commonly done, and it's going to sound really horrific. If it were you, if it were my family member, I would do this. Yeah. So again, educating the cult member on, usually they kidnap them and get them out of there and, completely take them and say, hey, especially if they're a child, you're going to educate them on thought reform techniques, helping them to recognize these methods and their own cult experience, asking questions that encourage them to think critically and independently. I remember when they were talking about even JC Dugard, again, separate reason she didn't leave Scientology. Yeah. But she couldn't even decide, the psychologist said, would you like water or juice? And she'd go, I don't know. Yeah. She didn't know how to make decisions.
Well, she wasn't permitted to make decisions for herself.
And so think about if in a cult you were told to do things, your whole sense of self is gone.
Totally.
You're going to have a really hard time having emotional connection and trying to reconnect with your former life, including objects.
Yeah.
Everything's just stripped away from you. And so they often don't have memories of their pre-cult experiences. It's just terrible. Yeah. And because you're asked to cut ties with family, we talked about this, that, when you deprogramming, you're actually kidnapping that cult member and forcing them to undergo therapy in the goal of getting them back into life. And that's basically what the cult told you would happen if you leave.
Yeah.
The outsiders, the aliens.
It feels like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
As a mental health professional, I'm termed an alien in their world, put on Earth to trick you.
You're a subversive person. Yeah. That's what they call you.
They actually, again, it's not brilliant, but from an organizational mindset, that's brilliant of the cult to actually tell you that the way you're going to be healed by our society is actually harmful to you.
It's anticipating.
Yes. They're anticipating that you're going to leave and they're setting you up. So it's just terrible. And I also think this is interesting that it really has a negative effect on society.
Yeah.
Even the way you and I are talking about this, someone who's in that cult is going to be shamed. Yeah. They're going to be looked down on. They're going to be thought as a certain way or not a certain way. And it pisses me off, too, as a hardworking small business owner, when I see someone tax evading for basically doing the same thing I'm trying to do in a legal, ethical way without violating laws.
Right.
Think of how much money it probably costs the government to do this IRS shit.
Yeah.
That's your and my money.
Totally.
I don't like that.
Totally.
And again, anytime we're dealing with children and not giving people appropriate education, this has a tremendous effect on society.
Absolutely.
And, again, this is going to, not to mention that they're performing acts of terror and murder. And there's tons of examples of this. And the research is vast. Mm-hmm. So, all in all, it's fucked up.
Yeah. I hear that. Yeah.
End of the day.
I hear that 100%, especially when it comes to Scientology. And I'm so glad that more and more people are speaking out, and that people who have detached from the cult, church, call it whatever you will, they're speaking in the same voice. They all have similar experiences.
You can't deny that.
You can't discount that.
Yeah.
You can't.
And this is, sorry to interrupt you. This is also one where I think social media and the internet helped this.
Totally.
Not only in both ways, right? Yeah. It created a network of people to anonymously be like, is anyone out there? This is kind of weird. Are you all having the same experience?
Yep.
And I think that probably is how this really, and then media and things, that didn't happen in the 70s or 80s.
It's true. And folks who are escaping this cult need to be able to very quickly connect with other folks who also did the same thing, so that they can start to undo some of the harmful learning and indoctrination, hopefully, that they've been subjected to for God knows how long. So the Scientology, I don't know if anybody, folks know, I think Scientology has a lot of celebrity members. I'm switching gears here, but why? Why the fuck does Scientology have so many celebrity members? So get ready for some shit on Tom Cruise, y'all. I love talking about him. I can't even watch the Mission Impossible movies.
I know.
Bill loves them, and I'm like, ugh.
I never was into him.
No.
All my friends always liked him. I was like, eh.
Yeah, fuck that guy. So I found this dope ass article in it's called In These Times is the publication, and it references the HBO documentary Going Clear, Scientology in the Prison of Belief.
Good.
Awesome. Good stuff. Highly recommend. L. Ron Hubbard established Project Celebrity in 55, as I mentioned, with a list of major stars who might be persuaded to put an attractive face on the new organization. Later came Scientology's celebrity centers, described by church officials in lofty language as consisting of a special Church of Scientology that would cater to the artists, the politicians, leaders of industry, sports figures, etc. Anybody with a vision for a better world.
I'd be pissed if I were on fucking Sea Org.
Yeah, totally.
Eating some 9-year-old's chopped cabbage while these dudes are
like, why can't I hang out with Kirstie Alley? R.I.P.
Well, that's right. She was one.
She was huge.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, huge into it. So the film that I mentioned, the documentary, hints that a major reason for the cult's appeal to celebrities is that Scientology provides sucking up on a vast scale. Early on, we see remarkable footage of a Scientology event where Cruise leads a huge crowd of the faithful in a salute to a portrait of L. Ron Hubbard, LRH. We'll just call him LRH. The massive hall where this takes place resembles a cross between the tackiest Academy Awards backdrop you've ever seen and the Nuremberg rally.
It totally
fucking love that description, dude. It's so spot on. So of Cruise, one defector attests that they tricked out all his cars and motorcycles. And when Cruise had a fantasy of running through, this is amazing, a pastoral meadow with Nicole Kidman, Sea Org peons planted the meadow, then ripped it up and replanted it when it didn't pass Miscavige's inspection. This field of poppies will not do. Rip it up. Replant it.
Has Nicole Kidman come out and talked at all?
I think she has a bit.
Okay.
But she was deemed a subversive person, and it's probably because she was looking around going, this is fucking bonkers.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, she's subversive.
Yeah.
She's bad. That's an easy thing for them to do, right? Anybody starts to undermine or discredit them, and they're like, this is a subversive person.
Yeah.
You know? And apparently Tom Cruise is really bought into this nonsense. So, back to going clear.
That's how powerful Scientology is, that it would make you not want to be with Nicole Kidman.
I know. She's gorgeous.
And amazing. Okay, sorry.
I don't understand. That hair. Bill likes that. My husband likes the curly Days of Thunder hair.
Oh, yeah.
Super into the spiral perm.
Yeah. Okay.
So hot. Anyway, we digress. So Going Clear posits that stars stick with Scientology because of the meticulously kept notes, recordings, and videos from e-meter auditing, sessions that are central to the religion's practice and make for ideal blackmail material.
Oh,
what the fuck? It's like they can go in and like bare their soul. And then at the end of it, it's like, well, I guess I could get blackmailed. I better stick with this. I'm assuming that's the way I'm interpreting this. Fascinating, right? Okay. So also magical thinking. Everybody loves some good magical thinking, right? John Travolta is not the only successful actor who's associated with Scientologists to be convinced that the process of going clear got him roles he auditioned for, meaning his stardom is directly reliant on Scientology, the way some other superstitious actors might attribute success to favorable moon or failure to Mercury in retrograde. I blame everything on Mercury in retrograde. Whenever anything goes wrong, I'm like, what the fuck is Mercury in retrograde? I don't even know what it means necessarily, but me and everyone else at my job who's all woo-woo is like, it's fucking Mercury.
Did you ever see the Amy Schumer? It's like a sketch where she's like, white women love blaming the universe.
It's so true.
Yeah, but like, oh, the universe told me to do this. I was like, the universe doesn't give a shit about you.
Yeah, the universe,
Well, but didn't they promise these actors too, if you do this, we'll help you.
Totally. And they give them access to these centers and these private rooms and these private spaces where when you're a celebrity and there are people oftentimes
I can work on my craft.
Right? I can hone my craft. I can practice. I don't know.
Well, I wonder. Okay.
I was trying to think of some terrible movie that John Travolta's been
Oh God, there's so many. Michael,
yeah. We're not going to indict Pulp Fiction because that's amazing.
That is.
That was just come back.
You could also can't say that they weren't bullying or talking to movie studios and manipulating them.
Well, also from what I understand, celebrities are treated a lot differently than your average Scientology member. They are not pressured to buy all the shit you need to buy to advance to the next level, etc.
Got it.
They are given all this, like I said, private spaces to come and relax and unwind, etc. Like they are given.
Their kids aren't sent to work.
Exactly. Their kids are not cleaning dumpsters on fucking Sea Org on the free ones, bro. So it's a lot different.
Got it.
And so I think it's just an extension of the special treatment that they get in the general public because of their star status. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm not a celebrity. I couldn't tell you. Nor am I a Scientologist. So apparently I don't have the intellect.
Those are two reasons I actually really like you. I'd like you if you were a celebrity.
Thank you.
I think you're a celebrity in your own right. So am I.
Right. I'm just gonna go ahead and believe you, bro.
As we do Scientology.
Let's see how carried away I can get. I'm gonna grow my fingernails long and start saving my piss. Then we'll see if you associate with me. Wait till I start a religion next week. Anyway, I want to end this with where the fuck is Shelly Miscavige? So we have to talk about this because I think it's fascinating and also frightening, and to me really demonstrates the power of Scientology. So the three folks that I mentioned who are suing David Miscavige directly, I don't know if they've even been able to serve him papers because he's hiding. He's actively hiding. And so this doesn't surprise me at all. So where is Shelly Miscavige? You may have heard this name. This is our final mystery. Where the fuck is this woman? So this is from a People article that was published just a few days ago. It's mad fresh, guys. Shelly Miscavige, the wife of Scientology leader David Miscavige, she hasn't been seen publicly since 2007.
Damn.
2007. 27. She married Miscavige in 1982, and they rose together in the Church of Scientology as members of an elite group called the Commodore's Messenger Organization.
Oh my God, that's so stupid.
Dude, I need a uniform.
Dumb.
I know, it's bad. It's all predicated on L. Ron's military service, his naval service. Yeah. It's crazy. So 6 years after Shelly's last public appearance, Leah Remini left the church in 2013, and she filed a missing persons report with the LA Police Department, was like, where is my homegirl? And after an investigation, the LAPD announced they had found her to be alive and safe, and they weren't pursuing the case. But still, no one's seen her in public. The last time Shelly, as I mentioned, was seen in public, it was actually at her father's funeral in 2007. So Mark Headley, a former Scientologist who has since spoken critically of the church, told Vanity Fair in 2014 that Shelly was once a top aide for the religious group that was stripped of her duties and carefully watched by a handler during her father's service. When another church member followed Shelly into the bathroom and asked her for help, Headley alleged Shelly said, "Listen to me. I fuck up and I'm not going to be able to help you." Or I fucked up and I'm not going to be able to help you. They whited it out or whatever. Whoa. 2006, Tom Cruise's wedding. Leah can't find Shelly. David Miscavige is Tom Cruise's best fucking man. Leah is looking around, asking openly, where is Shelly? She asked a top official. From what I understand, this top official was like, you don't have the fucking clout to be asking me where Shelly Miscavige is.
Oh, burn.
Yeah. So she claimed that the consequence of her questions is that she was subsequently sent to a church facility in Clearwater, Florida, where she underwent a sec check, truth rundown, and reprogramming. That sounds frightening.
Oh, and it's in Florida.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anything in Florida is
not good.
Bass backwards, man. So the Church of Scientology, do you remember on the, it was like the Adam Sandler show Adam Sandler, I'm sorry. Adam Carolla. He had a morning show and he used to play this game called Germany or Florida. He'd talk about something fucked up that happened and you had to guess whether or not it transpired in Germany or Florida.
Oh no.
Anyway.
Oh dear.
I digress.
That's gotta be really funny.
Yeah, it was amazing. So the Church of Scientology then released its own statement blasting Leah as a bitter ex-Scientologist and writing, Miss Remini also continues her bizarre efforts to harass the Church of Scientology's leader and his wife, whom Miss Remini has been obsessed with and has stalked for years. In a statement to People this week, the church accused Remini of engaging in a publicity stunt motivated by hate and money. Yeah, okay. Okay, fine. But where the fuck is Shelly? Still don't know where Shelly is. You can talk all this shit about my girl Leah, but you still have not produced Shelly. They're trying to be like, she's a private person. That's why you haven't seen her. Bullshit. I call bullshit on that. So, we're going to go Jerry Springer on this. We're going to talk about our final thought. And, like so many of the topics we cover, there's so much more to be said than what we can fit into our short format. We think Scientology is creepy. We think it's a cult.
Yeah.
We think there are too many people, as we said, out there alleging abuse and harassment for this to be some coordinated, targeted smear campaign like the church or cult alleges. We believe the victims, and we feel for anyone who wants to get out of this cult, but is too scared to do so. We encourage you to check out Leah's show. And I thought it was great. You thought it was great. And as we do with every topic, we encourage you to do your own research and draw your own conclusions. But Scientology sucks.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, we hope you enjoyed this. Do your research because we only went partially down the rabbit hole of crazy that is Scientology. But my God, yeah. Start with Leah's documentary because it's amazing. Follow it up with the HBO documentary, and
yeah. Question everything.
Question Fox everything, Mulder. Bro. Question us.
Yeah.
Fuck. Encourage you to do that. Anyway, everybody, same plea we throw out every week. Give us a review. Let it be 5 stars. Write something if you have the bandwidth to do so.
Share.
Check us out. Check us out on TikTok. We're going to try to be more diligent about putting our shit on YouTube. Does anybody still use YouTube anyway?
I don't know. I do.
No idea. Instagram.
Facebook,
we're on Facebook, but nobody gives a shit about Facebook.
My mom sees things on there.
Yes, people over the age of
82.
Yeah, people over the age of 50 love Facebook. Anyway, enjoy your week. We'll see you next week. Have a great night, day, whatever the fuck. Bye, guys.